America peaked in 1955, and we've been lying to ourselves about progress ever since. I know that sounds crazy. We have smartphones now. We have the internet. We have medical advances that would seem like miracles to someone from 1955. But I'm not talking about technology. I'm talking about what it meant to be an average American. And by that measure, 1955 was as good as it ever got. Let me make my case. In 1955, a single income could support an entire family, not just barely scraping by. Actually, support them. A factory worker, a store clerk, a tradesman could buy a house, own a car, feed his family, and save money. All on one paycheck. His wife could stay home with the kids if the family wanted that, not because women couldn't work, but because they had a choice. One income was enough. Try that today. Go ahead. Try supporting a family of 4 on one average salary. Try buying a house. You can't. Both parents work now, not because they want to, but because they have to. And even then, most families are one emergency away from financial disaster. We call that progress. In 1955, you could walk out of high school and get a job that would support you for life. No college degree required, no student loans, no debt at all. You'd start at the bottom and work your way up. Companies trained you. They invested in you. And if you showed up and did good work, you'd retire from that same company 40 years later with a pension. A real pension that would support you until you died. Today? Good luck. You need a college degree just to get an interview. That degree costs you $50,000 or $100,000. You start your adult life buried in debt. And that job you finally get? There's no pension, no loyalty. The company will drop you the moment it's convenient. You're on your own. But let me go deeper than just economics. Because 1955 wasn't the best year to be an American because of money. It was the best year because of something we've completely lost, a sense of shared purpose, a feeling that we were all building something together. World War II had ended just 10 years earlier. Everyone had sacrificed. Everyone had contributed. Rich and poor, every family had someone who served. Every neighborhood had families who lost sons. The whole country had pulled together for something bigger than themselves. And in 1955, you could still feel that unity. People trusted each other. You could leave your front door unlocked. Kids could play outside until dark, and nobody worried. Your neighbor would watch your house when you went on vacation. If your car broke down, someone would stop to help. Not because they knew you, but because that's just what you did. We didn't need doorbell cameras and security systems and neighborhood watch groups. We had something better. We had communities where people actually knew each other, where people looked out for each other, where your reputation mattered because you'd be living in that same town for the rest of your life. In 1955, Main Street was the center of town. Real stores owned by real people who lived right there in your community. The hardware store owner went to your church. The pharmacist knew your kids' names. The banker lived 3 streets over. Their success depended on your success. When the town did well, everyone did well. When times were tough, everyone struggled together. Today, Main Street is dead, killed by Walmart and Amazon. Shopping malls on the edge of town, everything's a chain. Nobody knows anybody. The profits go to some corporation headquartered 1,000 miles away. The kid making minimum wage behind the counter doesn't care if you come back. He'll quit next month anyway. But here's what really made 1955 special. The future felt bright. Not just for rich people, for everyone. The average American genuinely believed their kids would have it better than they did. And you know what? They were right. That optimism wasn't naive. It was based on reality. The economy was growing. Wages were going up. New houses were being built. New highways were being laid down. New inventions were making life easier. Television was becoming common. Vaccines were conquering diseases. Everything seemed possible. The American dream wasn't just a saying. It was something you could see happening right in front of you. Can you say that today? Do young people today believe they'll have it better than their parents? Most don't. They're worried about climate change and political division and whether they'll ever be able to afford a house. That optimism we had in 1955? It's gone, and you can't put a price on that loss. Let's talk about work. In 1955, if you worked 40 hours a week, you were done. You went home, no email, no cell phone. Your boss couldn't reach you. Work stayed at work. Evenings and weekends belonged to your family. That boundary between work and life, it actually existed. And here's the thing. Companies understood that a worker who went home at 5 o'clock and came back refreshed the next morning was more productive than a worker who was burned out and exhausted. They understood that families needed time together. That rest wasn't laziness. It was necessary. Now, everyone's available 24/7. You check your email at dinner. You take calls on weekends. You're always on. We have technology that was supposed to make life easier, but instead, it just means we never stop working. We're more connected, but more exhausted. More productive, but more miserable. In 1955, there were only 3 TV channels. You watched what everyone else watched. And that was actually a good thing. It gave the whole country shared experiences. Everyone saw the same news. Everyone laughed at the same shows. You'd go to work the next day and talk about what you watched last night. Everyone knew what you were talking about. Today we have 500 channels and infinite streaming options. Everyone lives in their own bubble. We don't share experiences anymore. We don't even share the same facts. Half the country watches one news channel, half watches another, and they might as well be describing different countries. We're more divided than we've been since the Civil War. Education worked in 1955. Schools had discipline. Teachers had authority. Kids learned reading, writing, and arithmetic. They learned practical skills like shop class and home economics. And it worked. America had the best educated workforce in the world. We were innovating and inventing and leading. Now, schools are warehouses. Teachers are scared of lawsuits. Kids graduate high school without being able to read properly. We spend more per student than almost any country on earth and get worse results. Something broke, and we keep pretending it's fine. Let me tell you about neighborhoods in 1955. Kids played outside, street football, riding bikes, building forts. They'd leave after breakfast and come home when the streetlights came on. Parents weren't worried. Neighbors watched out for all the kids. If you misbehaved at the Johnson's house, your mom would know about it before you got home. Kids learned independence. They learned to solve their own problems. They skinned their knees and got in fights and worked it out. They weren't bubble-wrapped and supervised every second. And they turned out fine, better than fine. Today, kids don't go outside. They're inside playing video games or staring at phones. Parents are terrified to let them walk to school alone. We schedule play dates like business meetings. We've stolen their childhood in the name of keeping them safe. Safe from what? The world is actually safer now than it was in 1955, but we're more paranoid. In 1955, families ate dinner together. Every night, around the table, no TV, no phones, just talking. Parents knew what was going on in their kids' lives, not because they were snooping through phones and reading texts, because they talked to each other, face to face, like humans are supposed to. That daily ritual of sitting down together, it held families together. It was when you learned values, when you learned how to have a conversation, when you felt connected to something bigger than yourself. It wasn't old-fashioned, it was essential. And we gave it up for convenience, and now we wonder why families feel fragmented. Here's something nobody wants to admit. In 1955, Things were made to last. Your refrigerator would run for 20 years. Your car would go 100,000 miles if you took care of it. Your furniture was solid wood that you'd pass down to your kids. You bought things once and kept them forever. Now, everything's disposable, designed to break. Phones last 2 years. Appliances die right after the warranty expires. Nothing can be repaired. Just throw it away and buy a new one. We're drowning in garbage and debt because nothing lasts. And we call this an improvement. In 1955, a doctor would come to your house if you were sick. He knew your family. He treated your kids through measles and chicken pox. Healthcare was personal. It was between you and your doctor. No insurance companies, no pre-approvals, no billing departments, just a doctor who cared about his patients. Medical care was limited compared to today. People died from things we can cure now, but at least when you went to the doctor, you were treated like a human being, not a billing code. You could afford it. And your doctor actually had time to listen to you. Try finding that today. Let's talk about entertainment. In 1955, entertainment was something you did, not something you consumed. People played music, they played cards, they had conversations, they visited neighbors, they went dancing. On weekends, the whole family might go for a drive or have a picnic. Now, entertainment means staring at a screen, alone. We have infinite content to watch and nothing to say to each other. We're more entertained and more bored at the same time. We have all this connection technology, and we've never been more lonely. In 1955, America made things, real things, cars, appliances, furniture, steel, textiles. We had factories in every city, good jobs that didn't require college, jobs with dignity, jobs where you made something you could point to and say, I built that. We traded all of that for cheap stuff from overseas. Sure, everything costs less now. But what did we give up? Entire communities built around those factories just died. Towns that thrived for generations became ghost towns. Those workers and their kids and grandkids, what are they supposed to do now? Work at Walmart? Here's what really made 1955 the best year. It was the sweet spot. The hard times of the Depression and the war were behind us. The chaos and division of the 60s and 70s hadn't started yet. We had built enough wealth to be comfortable, but not so much that we got soft and divided. We had enough technology to make life easier, but not so much that we stopped talking to each other. We had enough prosperity that everyone could participate, but not so much inequality that we split into different Americas. We had enough freedom, but still enough shared values that the country held together. It was a balance. And like all perfect balances, it couldn't last. The world kept changing. Maybe it had to. Maybe there was no way to freeze that moment in time. But we should at least be honest about what we lost. We lost the ability to support a family on one income. We lost pensions and job security. We lost communities where people knew each other. We lost main streets and local businesses. We lost the boundary between work and life. We lost shared experiences and shared values. We lost optimism about the future. We lost the feeling that we're all in this together. What did we gain? Convenience, entertainment, technology. The ability to have anything delivered to our door in 2 days. The ability to work from anywhere. The ability to be connected to everyone all the time. More choices, more freedom, more of everything. Was it worth the trade? That's for you to decide. But at least be honest about what we gave up. Don't pretend it's all been progress. Don't pretend we haven't lost anything important. I'm not saying we should go back to 1955. We can't. And there were real problems then that we shouldn't romanticize. But we can acknowledge that in some fundamental ways, life was better. The average American was better off. Families were stronger, communities were tighter, the future was brighter, people were happier. That's not nostalgia, that's just the truth. 1955 was as good as it got for the average American. Since then, we've gotten richer but less secure, more connected but more lonely, more advanced but less optimistic, more convenient but less satisfied. We had something in 1955 that we don't have now, a sense of shared prosperity, a feeling that we were building something together, a belief that tomorrow would be better than today, not just for the rich, for everyone, for the average working person. That's what made 1955 special. And that's what we should be trying to get back. Not the specific details of 1955, not the wages or the prices or the technology, but the feeling, the sense of possibility, the belief that hard work will be rewarded, that your kids will have it better than you, that we're all in this together, that America works for everyone, not just the people at the top. That's what 1955 had. And that's what made it the best year to be an American. Everything that came after might look like progress on paper, but it hasn't felt like progress. Not for most people. Not where it matters. We reached the peak in 1955, and we've been coasting downhill ever since, telling ourselves we're climbing.